Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a close look at a piece of tech that's completely changing the game for police all over the world, the body-worn camera.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at just how common these things have become. Then we'll get into the why, what's driving this big push. After that, we'll unpack how the whole system actually works, because it's more than you think. We'll also cover the roadblocks to getting them out there. And finally, what this all really means for the future of justice.
All right, first up, let's just wrap our heads around the scale of this thing. I mean, we're not talking about a few police departments trying out some new gadgets. No, this is a massive global shift that's happened incredibly fast.
So, what are we actually talking about here? At its core, a body-worn camera, or BWC, is basically a tool that's supposed to create a completely objective record of what happens when police interact with the public. It's all about having an indisputable witness, right?
Okay, and check this out, because what's wild is just how fast this all happened. I mean, the UK started doing trials back in 2005, and now, less than 2 decades later, we've gone from these tiny experiments to massive, countrywide rollouts everywhere from Brazil to Canada. That's lightning speed for this kind of change.
To give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about, look at China. By 2025, they're expected to have 1.3 million of these cameras on the streets. I mean, that is just a staggering number. It really shows you how central this technology is becoming to policing itself.
And, this isn't just about governments deciding to do this. It's a massive global industry. Get this. A single company, just one manufacturer, called Novastone, has sold over 500,000 of these cameras. That's enough to equip a huge number of police forces all by themselves. So yeah, body cams are definitely big business.
So we've seen how widespread they are. But what's the big rush? Why is everyone adopting them? To really get to the heart of the why, let's zoom in and look at a place like Nigeria, where the push for cameras is a direct answer to some really serious, long-standing problems.
See, in places like Nigeria and really all over the world, these body cams are being pitched as the solution to some deep, tough issues. The hope is that they can act as an objective witness, to help curb police brutality, to finally provide some hard evidence when there wasn't any before, and maybe, just maybe, start to rebuild some of the public trust that's been lost.
And what's really important here is that this push isn't just coming from protesters or the public. It's coming from the top. When you have Nigeria's own Inspector General of Police saying the goal is stricter police accountability, well, that's a huge deal. It shows a real shift in official thinking.
And the whole idea here is that the benefits are supposed to cut both ways. For one, it's a deterrent, right? The camera's on, so hopefully everyone behaves a little better. The footage gives courts high-quality evidence, which is huge. And it's also a big signal to the community that they're committed to being more transparent. But, and this is a key point, it's also meant to protect officers from false accusations.
Okay, so how does this tech actually work? Because it's really tempting to just think of it as a little GoPro an officer clips on, right? But believe me, it's way, way more complicated than just hitting a record button.
Yeah, that little camera you see on an officer's chest, that is literally just the tip of the iceberg. It's not a standalone device. It's the front end of this whole integrated system, a complete evidence ecosystem, really, that's all about securely capturing, managing, and protecting that digital footage.
So the life of a piece of video evidence follows this super strict, super secure path. It all starts with the recording out on the street. Then, at the end of the shift, the officer puts the camera into a docking station. From there, the video is automatically and securely uploaded using really strong encryption. We're talking AES 256, the same stuff your bank uses. And once it's uploaded, it gets stored, logged, and tracked in a special software system. This creates a rock-solid chain of custody, so you know exactly where that evidence has been.
Okay, so as you can probably guess, rolling out a system this big and this expensive is not easy. There are some major hurdles that pretty much every police department runs into.
So what are the biggest roadblocks? Well, number one with a bullet is funding. The money. It's not just the high cost of the cameras themselves, but you have to pay for all that data storage, the maintenance. It adds up fast. Then, coming in a close second, is data privacy. This is a really tricky one. How do you stay transparent without violating the privacy of citizens, or even the officers? And finally, you've got training. You can't just hand someone this powerful tool and walk away. Officers need to know exactly when and how to use it, both legally and ethically.
So as this technology becomes standard issue for police all over the globe, what does it all mean? Like, what's the big picture? For our ideas of truth, evidence, and justice itself.
The really crucial thing to get here is that this isn't just about a new gadget. Body-worn cameras are fundamentally creating a whole new kind of evidence. On one hand, they promise this new level of objectivity, which is great. But on the other hand, they also force us to ask some really tough new questions about what we're actually seeing and how we should interpret it.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. In a world where cameras are becoming everywhere, capturing millions of hours of what we call indisputable evidence, what does that phrase even mean anymore, and how will it ultimately change the way we define truth in our search for justice?